Chapter 10 Audio Chapter 10 Audio Log -738 to 14 Dr. Eugene Baker. Alright SCP-738, how are you this morning? SCP-738, I am quite fine. Do you want to become head researcher of Site-81? Dr. Eugene Baker. No thank you SCP-738. I did want to ask you something though. What did SCP-12725 ask for? SCP-738, who? Dr. Eugene Baker. Psi Gabriel Garcia. What did he ask for? SCP-738, I can't give you that information. Would you like something similar to what he asked for? Dr. Eugene Baker. No thank you SCP-738. Can you tell me what was the price SCP-12725 had to pay for what he asked? SCP-738, I can't give you that. Do you want to know how Gabriel knocked everyone out when he escaped containment? Dr. Eugene Baker. No thank you SCP-738, we already know that. Why can't you sell me the information about your deal with Gabriel Garcia? SCP-738, why? Well, he asked for privacy. I of course will give him some dealer's confidentiality. POV, Site Director, Dr. David Moose. So you are telling me that SCP-12725 is a god. This was not good. Every SCP that was suspected to be one or confirmed to be known as one were always uncontainable. Every director had been made aware of SCP-343 and others that could have passed for gods. Well, not a god exactly, the closest thing there is to the definition though. We believe it's actually something closer to an embodiment. I sagged a little. Maybe the situation was not as bad as it sounded. And can you repeat how you arrived at that conclusion? Well, you see, Director, a being's strength is usually correlated to their soul's power, at least when it comes to mystical beings. SCP-12725 just confirmed to us that his aura was an effect of his soul pushing out of him and into the material world. So it was all just a hunch then? Good. Now, for the gullible scientist. And how do you know what he just told you is true? Well, SCP-12725 has never lied to us before. That was such a bad excuse. I had heard kids do better. And that is enough ground to believe everything an SCP has said. Really, if we did that kind of thing at Site-19 we would all be dead in a week. Well no, but it would explain a lot of things that we have seen happening to SCP-12725 and his surroundings. Now she would explain how her magic confirmed everything, so it must be true. I resisted the urge to groan. The thaumaturgy branch did good work. They were just eccentric and sometimes wrong with their assessments. Continue. Well, if SCP-12725 is indeed some type of Blackwood ex machina like I believe, his aura would make sense. His reality-bending powers would also make sense. His regenerative powers too. It could explain everything. How does it explain any of its abilities? Dr. Aurelia, stop dancing around the question. I want answers. Well, with the power of his soul alone he could command reality to a certain degree. It would be similar to magic, but instead of having to study how to manipulate mana to manage feats, he could brute force reality to change with sheer will. So it's like a type green. Well, no, he could be limited to something, like if he has a sort of domain. He also wouldn't have to make reality weaker to affect it. And what does that mean for the Foundation? Dr. Aurelia. It means I can do shit like this. Sound the alarms? Site-19 is going into high alert immediately. Every personnel is to grab an anti-telepathy device. I repeat, Site-19 is going into high alert immediately. Every personnel is to grab an anti-telepathy device. 7 days after incident -12725 to 2 POV, SCP-12725. Gabriel Garcia. I am sorry. I really was. Connor took a long hit from his blunt and released a very tired sigh out. You know, when the site goes into lockdown, they lock down everyone below level 2 clearance. I'm sorry, Connor. This means that I also get locked up, in my room, my very small room, Gabe. I'm really sorry, Connor. So, what exactly did you do, Mr. Garcia? This was my second time talking to a director. Granted, it was through a FaceTime call in my phone, but still. Well, I started thinking about ways in which my soul could affect reality. Her eyebrows furrowed a lot. I thought that maybe I could sort of use my souls to find other souls. Like a sonar. And, well, I actually managed to do it in my first try. She didn't look happy at me. Maybe she just wasn't aware of how cool it was to do stuff with your mind alone. What am I saying? She of course wasn't, she was just a human after all. When I managed to sense another soul, I discovered that they sort of reflect whatever thoughts the person is having. Aha, and well, I of course began listening to everyone I could. My mom liked rumors and she passed that to me. Okay. And then I thought, well, everyone's thoughts are pretty loud, wonder what I could do if I made mine intentionally louder. And that when you screamed to the whole site your ability to telepathically communicate. Yeah, isn't it cool? Addendum 12725 to 7 SCP-12725 was discovered to have an abnormally large soul. Enough so to eclipse a city's worth of souls. SCP-12725 also appears to have what Dr. Aurelia Baldovini describes as very precise soul control. Because of recent discoveries, it is being proposed the change of SCP-12725 type green/red/blue status to a Ex Machina 1. Because of recent discoveries, all of Site-19 personnel will be required to use a mental protection device at all times. A message has been sent to the O5 Council to ask for directions on what to do with SCP-12725. So, what did you say you asked SCP-738 for again? Connor started. We were chilling in my room again. The Foundation had finally calmed down after like 2 weeks of them running around like headless chickens. I think the Foundation thought that his presence appeased me or something. He was spending more and more time here with me. That, and obviously for I had to admit that playing video games with him was relaxing. The computer they gave me was fast enough to play most modern games on it. It gave me a reprieve from all the practice I did. Mario Kart was also much better in this universe than it was in my old one. The fact that Nintendo did not limit itself to its consoles was very beneficial to the company. I sighed and answered the question in a bored tone. The principles of domination. Connor, I have told you this multiple times. Yeah, but there is this one guy named Alto that insists he's gonna kill me if I don't give him an answer to his question. If you ask me, he is being unreasonable. I already told him all about your principles and all that. That made me pause the game and look at him. Connor, I may not feel crippling anxiety at the thought of death anymore, but I know for a fact humans do, and they usually don't talk about the possibility of someone killing them with that much nonchalance. You alright, bro? The Foundation took your weed again? Should I ask for some and give it to you on your daily visits? Nah, it's all good. Though I'm surprised you didn't know. There is a rumor about you knowing everything and everyone in the facility. Wait, for real? This was interesting. Yeah, that mass message you sent made everyone think you are constantly trying to read our minds, and since you yourself have said that the Foundation can't really do much to contain you, most of us, the disposable ones, think that you already found a workaround the mind defense gadgets we've all been given. Now that's just defamation. This was suddenly not very interesting, and instead it was saddening. I huffed a bit. I ain't picking anyone's mind. Not that I couldn't. Why would I waste my time trying to understand a site's worth of people's jumbled thoughts? I don't know, you sure aren't doing anything. He turned towards me and raised an eyebrow. Yes, I am sure, Connor. I don't like mind-related powers anyway. Wait, for real? They sound so useful. One of my biggest fears was to have someone alter my mind. I heavily dislike the idea of mind control, and reading just sounds like an extension. I would definitely send telepathic messages if I could focus them though. Well, they still sound more useful than mine. I stood up and walked towards the table to grab a water bottle. My love for normal water would never die. I did not know Connor was an anomaly. 2. I unscrewed the bottle as I turned back to the chairs we were using. My immortality just keeps me alive. And promptly dropped all of my precious water to the ground. Addendum 12725 to 8 additional psyche analysis has been done and sped up thanks to Connor Conewall. SCP-12725 has expressed no kind of megalomaniac tendencies a normal type green would start showing. Going over how long SCP-12725 has had its powers and not developed any megalomania, especially with what it believes it now owns, it has been tentatively determined that SCP-12725 has a strong enough connection to reality to not lose its mind. Tests on SCP-12725's power will be done to determine how strongly it affects reality. It is also very relaxed in its cell, differently to how 99% of SCPs usually feel resentment towards the Foundation for keeping them locked. SCP-12725 has shown no irritation over its current condition. It is believed that SCP-12725 thinks it can escape captivity as easily as it escaped in Site-81. Mr. Gabriel. We would like it if you could explain some of your powers before we test them. I had been moved to what looked like a very big blast room. They had asked nicely, so I followed them to it without causing any issues. Dr. Aurelia this time was followed by an orange-haired fellow with a very recognizable medallion around his neck. So far I have only developed the ability to control space, air, and some really dangerous fire. Oh, I can also, to an extent, control my body's metabolism, immune system, and tissue distribution. What about your massive mind message you can do? Dr. Bright asked. Well, those are powers anyone could learn, they just have to practice a lot. Dr. Bright perked up and muttered something that had me nervous. That means I can learn it too. I suppose everyone has the potential of becoming a Type Blue, muttered Aurelia back. Oh, they were both crazy. One does not just exacerbate Dr. Bright's ideas. One runs away when he gets them, if they cannot defend themselves from them. Dr. Bright shook himself out of his funk. Okay, moving on. My name is Bright. This will help us determine if you really are a Type Green or not. What is a Type Green? Let's begin with the tests. Go forth, O great red, burn the world with a sea of flames and cackle as it all turns to ashes. Dr. Bright began to do a very impressive evil laugh. Oh, seems like he wouldn't explain what the fuck Type Greens were to me neither. The blast room did not survive my crimson flames. Addendum 12725-9 SCP-12725's abilities normally do not affect the Cumes scale. This supports the idea that SCP-12725 is not a Type Green. Reality around SCP-12725 does not become weaker around it. SCP-12725's crimson-colored flames did make the Cumes counter detect something. SCP-12725 is capable of producing flames that destroy reality. Additional note from Dr. Aurelia Baldovini, SCP-12725's flames also destroy the immaterium around him. Additional note from Dr. Jack Bright, he is bullshit. So, Red, I heard you had a very large soul. Would you be willing to let me seal a bit of it inside one of my suits and use it as a battery? Clef asked as he got close to me and put his arm around my shoulder. You know, before, I thought of Alto Clef was a legend. Now he just sounded like an idiot. No, Dr. Clef, I will not use a part of myself to power up your magic suits. He had also barged into my room without knocking. I wasn't going to help him with anything. But you broke the last one? You must take some kind of responsibility. And I already told you I'd help you make the best uniform ever if you showed me how to runecraft. We could even build one similar to the Iron Man armors for him. The physics dictating it was impossible to build one could be ignored if he just told me how to use runes. Why do you even want to learn that? Also, I just want a really small part of your soul. It is strong and big enough you won't even feel it. First of all, runes are fucking cool. Second of all, the answer is still no. Also, if I could runecraft I could affect reality passively. Just imagine it. No more need to concentrate on stuff to affect them. It made me giddy thinking about it. Then I ain't teaching you anything. Because Clef was an asshole and didn't want to teach me how to make runes. I began thinking of how to make my own. There was no reason behind why runes, the alphabet of ancient Germanic tribes, affected reality. So maybe there wasn't a need to know how to write runic if one knew how they worked. There was no reason for why a type of magic would be limited to an alphabet. It was like mages being limited to using wands or some other shit. It didn't make sense. I started theorizing that maybe, just maybe, mages in many universes just hypnotized themselves into thinking runes worked, and instinctively their magic made them work. So, I technically only needed to believe hard enough that certain symbols had certain effects and then infuse my power into them. Granted, I had to make my own fucking alphabet and give every letter a different meaning to do it. I could probably give one symbol multiple meanings, but that sounded lazy. It would probably give me issues later down the line too. I would have to delay my research, just trial and failure, on Flash Air, but that was something I would be willing to do for the ability to make runes. So without much preamble, I began drawing in my phone's note app my own language. Should I name it something edgy like the language of domination? Fuck no, that was embarrassing. And dumb. And for those wondering how Site-19 has so many anti-telepathic devices, they have SCP-914. They literally just have to put something like a dream catcher into it, set it to fine, and voila, a bunch of mental protection devices. What the Hume scale is mentioned here/URL, and this one explains Hume's here/URL. I really am trying to make chapters longer. They just write themselves. Short though. Also, all the long lines were me trying to firstly make it clear when there were scene changes, and secondly to mark the passage of time. Did it work for the time thingy? I feel like it wasn't really well implemented. P.S. I wrote half the chapter at midnight. There might be a couple of spelling mistakes here and there. Double P.S. formatting in FF is weird. If any of y'all finds a spelling mistake, has questions, has some criticism, or whatever, please leave a comment. I enjoy reading them. Anyway, thanks for reading. Chapter 11. I was sitting on my desk thinking of new symbols. Memorizing them was not an issue. My improved memory made sure I didn't forget stuff. I was in what I decided to call the creative state of creating a new language. Then I would start assigning symbols meanings. After that, I would need to find a way to give them power. I was not sure I possessed magic, but I was sure my soul was powerful enough to power up anything I put my mind into. I had around 200 symbols done when I heard the door to my cell open. In walked Dr. Bright with all of his swagger. He was one of the few people not terrified of me. His soul, which was locked in the locket around his neck, never showed any signs of fear. Maybe he thought me incapable of destroying it? He walked up to me and swung his arm around my shoulders to lean over and see what I was working on. So, he began in a manner which experience told me he was ordered to do something he found boring. Whatcha doing? I am creating a new language. Being in this cell, no matter how big it is sometimes boring. He slowly turned his head towards my face as he stopped looking at the symbols drawn on my computer. Aha, it has nothing to do with the fact and Clef refused to teach you runes, right? Oh no, it definitely has to do with that. If he won't teach me runes, I'll teach myself. Thank you very much. His eyebrows strongly twitched. I had noticed that all of Bright's mannerisms were greatly exaggerated. I didn't know if he did that because he liked doing it or because it made people less scared of him. Oh, so you are planning to teach yourself runes? Figure them out by trial and error. Oh hell nah, I feel like that would take too much time. I'm creating my own runes. I heard a voice coming from Dr. Bright's earbud that sounded very similar to Dr. Clef's voice. That motherfucker. I am no motherfucker, Clef. I have never fucked someone, mother. Stop it with the false allegations. Oh shit. He can hear us. Of course he can. What can't he do? Maybe escape. Have you seen the video logs of how he escaped Site 81? He could almost definitely knock everyone on the site out if he wanted to. Even the other SCPs. Are you hanging out again with Neville again? Hey, I told you he's not crazy. The mages are actually pretty nice once you get to know them. Both of you shut the fuck up. Terry, go tell the director about this. She asked us to tell her about any new. I heard a sigh of delights. Dr. Bright looked amused and exasperated. Since when have you been able to hear so much? Since I woke up after being hit with a bunch of tranquilizer darts. That long, huh? Yup. POV, Site Director, Dr. David Moose. Dr. Bright was seated on my desk, dangling his feet off it. Has the O5 answered our call for instructions? Yeah, they have. Dr. Bright was an exercise in patience to deal with. He was not bad at what he did. That was the only reason he was allowed to keep the position he had earned. Are you going to tell me what they told us? If he stopped being a walking menace, it would make it much easier to work with him, though. I'm not sure if I should. He could potentially go and do something stupid with the information. The O5 seemed to favor him. He got away with a lot of crap. I think it being immortal has affected the way Jake looks at loss and failure. I suppose that's what happens when not even death can stop someone. Oh, come on. The fate of my friend lies in whatever the O5 said. Please tell me, pretty please. I sighed. Why was Bright so difficult to deal with? That is exactly why I don't want to tell you. He gasped. His eyes going wide and hints of fear appeared in his body language. What kind of dreadful fate has Gabe been sentenced to? The O5 has ordered us to terminate him. He deadpanned surprisingly fast. At me. How unexpected. But, and this was the important thing, they want us to do it discreetly. They have ordered us to let SCP-12725 come in contact with other dangerous SCPs in hopes of him dying to one of them. They don't want us to tell SCP-12725 we want it to die though. He blinked owlishly at me. Well, that is unexpected. Yes, yes it is. We are going to exploit 12,725's willingness to help us. So, who am I meeting? I was walking with a D-class down a corridor. The Foundation had finally decided it would let me help with research on some SCPs, a pretty lanky guy. Though the D-class I was walking with seemed to dislike me for some reason. Lanky. There were a shit ton of SCPs that could be described as lanky. Yes, lanky. This D-class didn't seem to like talking. How cold. Does he really hate me? So, can you tell me about the rumors about me? This actually made him look at me. You don't know about them, or are you just messing with me? I genuinely do not know any of them. Well, that is not totally true. Connor talked about some of you believing I went around reading thoughts. You don't. The fact he said that with a surprised tone hurt me a little. No, I do not. Thoughts are loud and annoying. I try my best to ignore them. I can actually stop reading them if I concentrate, but particularly loud ones can sometimes ping my senses. He looked skeptical of that. Which, understandable, but as previously stated, a bit hurtful. What I can't stop doing is feeling everyone else's feelings. Souls just reflected them so strikingly I can't help but to notice them. His posture now seemed a tad defensive. So you just know what everyone is feeling all the time. Unfortunately, but I am working to find a way to dull my senses. So many people either fear me or detest me. It's kinda depressing. Oh, sorry man. It's just hard to accept that someone is capable of doing that. Don't worry about it. It is also annoying for me, way more than what it annoys you. I'm sure. And how do you know that? Well, for one, I could actively feel how annoyed he was. Secondly, because sometimes those feelings affect mine, I kind of mimic other people's feelings if I don't pay attention. There were once a couple of guards getting frisky in their dorms and I accidentally gave myself blue balls. The cell I was placed in had a closed-off garage-like door. The D-class who brought me here gave me the document he was carrying and told me to stay here. I was wondering what SCP I would meet when I heard a voice from some microphones on the ceiling. Hello SCP-12725. I heard a slapping sound. My bad, Gabriel. Hello Gabriel. It's fine man. Just try not to call me that again. It's a bit annoying. Yes, yes. Anyway, we would like you to open the file and look at the picture inside of it. Oh, they were gonna test how mental hazards worked on me? This was going to be interesting. I could technically dominate myself to forget something, expel an invading force, or fight a compulsion, so in a worst-case scenario there would be no problems. Alrighty, opening up the document now. Thank you Gabriel. Good luck Gabe. Hey, Bright was going to be part of this experiment. Without any more delays I opened the folder I had been given and saw the face of a screaming pale man. I began to hear a very loud scream, followed by some sobbing and mumbling before the voice went back to screaming. You have to be fucking kidding me. POV, Assistant Director of Personnel of Site 19, Dr. Jack Bright. SCP-12725 seems to be holding out pretty well. What do the sensors show? Somehow 12,725 was able to capture 096 before it even had a chance to attack him. I hummed. Gabe seemed to come up with new abilities every once in a while. His clearly type read like biomanipulation, his ability to control air, his ability to control space, his crimson flames, his cool soul powers, the new rune-inspired language, and now barriers? Perhaps he is folding space in a way SCP-096 is unable to go through. I proposed. Maybe? We are not too sure, sir. Studying 12,725 has proven very hard, even with the help of the thaumaturgy personnel and SCP-12725's own inclination to give us answers to all of our questions. Him being able to just do new stuff all the time is not something we are used to. He is logical about how he does stuff. He is not like type Greens. For all we know, 12,725 learned a way to seal stuff. You are right, this does sound troublesome. Let's see if 12,725 is willing to answer some questions. I pressed the open comms button and leaned down into the microphone. Hey Gabe, the big heads here wish to know how you are containing SCP-096. You fuckers? What is that thing and why is it so damn fast? I can't believe you've done this to me. Maybe Gabe would not be willing to give us answers this time. So, You are not gonna brag about how you are doing whatever you are doing. Fuck you, Jake. Go fuck yourself. Fuck me yourself, you coward. The scientists who were muttering behind me suddenly stopped and just stared at me. They were giving me very pointed looks. I decided to ignore them. One of the sensors was detecting Gabe looking straight at me. He was doing it like the load of bullshit he was, you know, like through the wall and containment procedures. He was just staring at my position with an honestly perturbing amount of accuracy. Bright. Yes, Gabe. I like you. I know, Gabriel. But I have to let you know you are the weirdest human I have ever met. Thank you, Gabby. Never call me that. Please. Will do, Gabriel. Thank you. You are welcomed. It looks like our conversation died right there. POV, SCP-12725, Gabriel Garcia SCP-096 was a scary fucker. As soon as he entered my part of the connected cells, I had expanded the space in between us so much that I couldn't even see the other side of the room. I could feel him accelerate towards me at speeds that actually frightened me a bit. Was SCP-096 really supposed to be this fast? I don't remember anything about him being fast as fuck. As he crossed the 1/4 of the space in between us and kept accelerating, I began to sweat a bit. I had expanded the space as much as I could. I had hoped it would have given me enough time to think of a countermeasure for the shy guy, but apparently he was sonic or something. With a sigh, I decided that I would try to use boost once again. I concentrated on my being and connected it to the concept of domination as much as I could. Nothing happened, but that was expected. Domination almost never did anything without directions. I began concentrating on dominating my strength and tried to raise it. As always, it didn't do anything. I concentrated on infusing my soul with domination and using my body as a conduit for all my power. I didn't feel much of an increase and I couldn't make myself stronger after the initial boost. SCP-096 crossed the halfway mark. I tried to concentrate on the oncoming fight and felt something reach out to me, calling for me, but I couldn't feel anything else. Like looking at the light at the end of a tunnel you could never reach. My eyes shot open wide. This had been the first time I had felt that type of connection with domination. I closed my eyes and tried to ignore how fast 096 was barreling towards me. SCP-096 had already reached the 3/4 mark and was not slowing down at all. That connection, I had to reach out for it with more intention, but what kind of intention? The fight? I had to become stronger to win whatever fight I had coming. Runes were not ready. 096 speed meant that my space manipulation would not be helpful enough. Wind would be totally ineffective. What else could I do other than boost myself? I knew I had to concentrate on boost before trying out all the other cool ideas I had, but the Hulk had never been my favorite, and so the power to go herder me strongest had not sounded so appealing. I was beginning to regret my decisions. I tried concentrating on dominating the fight and I felt the connection become stronger. Unfortunately, nothing happened again. What was I supposed to do? SCP-096 then appeared on the artificial horizon my power had made. He appeared to have slowed down once it was close enough to me and felt I wasn't getting any further away from him. Great, that meant I had more time. Think, Gabe, think. You are about to be mangled to death if you can't figure out how to boost. How did God even end up using Drake's power to create the boosted gear? What had he done with domination to make it a weapon that increased exponentially the overall strength of whoever used it? SCP-096 was now closer to me and was now running at a speed that didn't make me dizzy. I heard his screams become louder and louder. I needed more time. I had to do something to slow him down even further. I decided a mini hurricane would have to suffice. I couldn't afford to put more attention on other stuff at the moment. I also decided to let my soul out. I would apologize to everyone at a later date, but keeping such a tight lock on it was also distracting. Finally, I gave all the attention I could possibly give to how to boost and came to a realization. I didn't need to dominate a fight. I didn't need to dominate this fight. I already, on a conceptual level, dominated everything. I was not limited to flesh and blood because I was not a human. Why would my body restrict how strong I could become? Why did my soul have to be tied down to a standard of how strong souls could be? It didn't need to be. I had unconsciously decided I would be. And with that realization, the world around me slowed as I became much more than I had been just a minute ago. SCP-096 tore through the mini tornado and ran at me. His hands finally reached me and grabbed me by my arms and lifted me up. He screamed at my face. his jaw opening up to an unnatural degree. His eyes had tears running out of them like a river, and his nose was runny. In conclusion, he was very hideous. His lanky arms tried to rip my arms out of their sockets and failed. He slammed me into the floor and put one of his legs on my torso and pulled again and again and again as he tried to rip my arms off. But he failed, because why would my body give to an external force that was inferior to it? I watched SCP-096 screech at its inability to kill me and saw him go in for a bite. He thought he would be able to bite my head off, even if he failed at pulling my arms out? Pathetic. I moved my right arm towards his face and slammed it down as fast as I could. Now that I thought about it, as fast as I could now was just as fast as I wanted to be. I noted with some detachment that I had ripped his lower jaw off with my one hand. The hand that was also grabbing me flew with the jaw to the side. SCP-096 did not even feel what I had done to it. I could feel his soul only agonizing over the fact that someone had seen his face. What a truly sad being. To be so pitiful that even just the knowledge of its face being known made it go on a rampage. I decided to put down the rabid dog where it stood. With ease I brought destruction into reality. And with that same ease I annihilated everything that was SCP-096. I would let people keep the knowledge of what it was, but everything spiritual and material that made part of its being ceased to exist. Such a creature had no right to be mad at me for knowing what it looked like. Now, what would I do about the Foundation? They had been amusing to mess with, but now that I thought about it, maybe I should just destroy them? It would certainly be easier than dealing with them on a daily basis. Though a part of me screamed that it would be wrong to actually follow through what I thought the best course of action was. Why was I even limiting myself to amusing these humans? They had been somewhat annoying ever since I first met them. They were so demanding, so entitled. I just had to flex a little and they would all disappear. No. Was I screaming? That felt like I was screaming. Why would I be against just deleting the humans from existence? Actually, why don't I just eliminate all humans? The Foundation wasn't the only annoying group of humans. They were so insignificant, it would matter if one more species was to be eliminated from the universe. They certainly tried to eliminate each other plenty. I could just give them the little push they needed to stop being a nuisance. I felt my emotions revolt at that and gasped as I felt all my power leave me. I fell to the floor and almost blacked out. My feelings returned to me and the dispassionate part of me that was the embodiment of domination left me. I had never felt so tired before. With a little bit of effort I felt how strained my soul was. With a little more feeling around I realized something. The strain didn't occur because of my power. It occurred because I decided to lower myself to what I was now. How interesting. Still, that way of thinking. It disturbed me a little that I could suddenly become so apathetic to everything around me. I looked around me and noted I was in a very wide crater. With nothing else to do I laid down on my back and started suppressing my soul once more. I hoped I didn't kill anyone. Well, everyone other than 096. I felt a bit sad at the fact I had taken a life, but the part of me that would have cared for a single being's death was not part of me anymore. I was just sad I had taken a life, not sad for the life I had taken. And watching SCP videos at 2x speeds cause I don't have enough time. Straight face. Also, goddamn, why am I unable to write long chapters? If any of y'all finds a spelling mistake, has questions, has some criticism, or whatever, please leave a comment.